In times of complexity and conflict, we must return to first principles, clarity, reasoned dialogue, and an honest search for truth. Today, we examine a matter that touches on law, safety, morality, and national coherence, the rise of sanctuary cities and the federal response soon to take shape through executive order. Sanctuary cities, by definition, are jurisdictions that limit their cooperation with federal immigration authorities, often choosing not to honor Immigration and Customs Enforcement (ICE) detainer requests or refraining from sharing immigration status information. Their advocates suggest these policies foster trust within immigrant communities, encouraging the reporting of crimes and preventing racial profiling. However, critics raise a fundamental question: can any city, or state, choose to exempt itself from federal law when doing so directly impacts public safety and the administration of justice? This debate is not merely a partisan clash, it is a constitutional, legal, and moral crossroads.
By the Democrat Party. It's the same attack that we see, Sean, when you have California, a sanctuary state, that is refusing to turn over even illegal alien criminals and gang members to ICE. So these are illegal aliens in California who have been arrested by California police, by California law enforcement, for serious crimes, for crimes against children, for felonies, for crimes that threaten public safety, and they are refusing to hand these criminal illegal aliens over to ICE. Instead, they're freeing them back into the cities to offend and offend again. By any definition, what California is doing is criminal. It is a violation of our laws. It is one of the most heinous things that I have seen in my entire life in Washington.
But think about this, Stephen Miller, you go down to the border, and if you were to assist known illegal immigrants and, let's say, transport them, are you aiding and abetting law breaking? Wouldn't you get arrested? Wouldn't I get arrested? Wouldn't anybody watching the show get arrested?
Yes, in fact, you would do significant jail time, particularly under the policies of this administration. By the same token, if you, as an American citizen, put, say, a child into the back of a truck and drive them across straight lines, you'll be prosecuted for child trafficking. The Biden administration itself, the actual government of the United States, trafficked 500,000 children into this country and helped them to disappear. That is criminal. And back to the point about sanctuary states and sanctuary cities, there are laws against harboring. There are laws against evading authorities. There are laws against smuggling, laws against concealing, laws against obstructing justice. President Trump, as we speak, is working on an executive order that will be issued in the very near future that will clamp down and crack down on sanctuary cities as never before. This is a cancer on our democracy, the effort of the radical left to shield even the most violent illegal aliens from enforcement. President Trump will be soon taking action that will be more robust and more aggressive than anything done in this area before.
Recent statements by White House Deputy Chief of Staff Stephen Miller have reignited national discussion on this issue. His words were blunt and emotionally charged, but they reflected a deep-rooted frustration with what he and others perceive as institutional defiance of immigration law. Miller sharply criticized jurisdictions like California, accusing them of releasing individuals, illegal immigrants arrested for felonies and even crimes against children, back into communities rather than handing them over to ICE. In his words, this is one of the most heinous things witnessed in Washington, a statement meant to reflect the moral outrage felt by many. The upcoming executive order, crafted under Miller's direction, seeks to enforce laws that prohibit harboring, concealing, and obstructing justice. It proposes a powerful financial tool, cutting all federal funding to non-compliant cities and states, and introduces the possibility of criminal liability for local officials who deliberately shield undocumented individuals from lawful deportation efforts. According to Miller, this action will be more robust and more aggressive than anything done in this area before. This initiative sits within a broader effort to reassert federal control over immigration policy, which includes reinstating Remain in Mexico, hiring additional ICE agents, and encouraging Congress to pass legislation that curbs local resistance to federal enforcement. The logic presented is simple yet profound: immigration enforcement is a federal responsibility, and refusal to comply with that enforcement, especially when it involves dangerous individuals, places innocent lives at risk. The challenge, however, is not only legal but also philosophical and ethical. It prompts us to consider the boundaries of local autonomy, the consistency of law, and the role of emotion in policymaking. What happens when a local official, motivated by compassion or political conviction, chooses to defy federal orders? Are they engaging in civil resistance, or are they obstructing justice? Miller has made his position clear. No one is above the law, he said, warning that such officials could face jail time. He also linked current policies to systemic failures, accusing the federal government under the current administration of complicity in trafficking hundreds of thousands of children, a claim aimed not just at political opposition, but at what he sees as an institutional abandonment of ethical governance. From a legal perspective, the federal government retains supremacy in immigration matters. Laws against harboring and obstruction exist for a reason: to protect the integrity of borders and the safety of citizens. The executive order aims to strengthen the enforcement of those laws. And yet, the resistance to such enforcement is grounded not merely in politics, but in a vision of a society where local compassion can sometimes challenge federal authority. Here lies the complexity of human nature, a theme that must not be ignored. Law and order do not exist in a vacuum. They must coexist with the cultural and psychological reality of diverse communities. And here is where intellectual humility must enter the conversation. The question is not just whether sanctuary cities are illegal or dangerous, but whether the system has, in some places, failed to provide an immigration process that is seen as just, humane, and administratively effective. In conservative thought, the rule of law is foundational. A republic cannot survive if laws are enforced arbitrarily or if local governments declare themselves immune from federal mandates. This, conservatives argue, leads to fragmentation, unpredictability, and diminished national sovereignty. But even within that framework, there must be an allowance for introspection, for refining methods of enforcement, for ensuring that justice does not become tyranny cloaked in legal language. Public safety remains paramount. Miller's warnings are not theoretical, they speak to real victims, real crimes, and real policy failures. But effective governance also requires due process, community trust, and an unwavering commitment to constitutional norms. We must ensure that the pursuit of justice does not turn into vengeance, and that passion for order does not become disregard for those who feel voiceless. As we consider the future of this executive order, it is essential that we avoid tribalism. Emotional rhetoric, while sometimes cathartic, can cloud judgment. What's needed is reasoned debate, respectful disagreement, and an openness to empirical evidence. We must analyze whether sanctuary cities do indeed compromise safety, whether federal pressure will produce compliance, and what unintended consequences may arise, particularly on immigrant communities who fear interaction with law enforcement, regardless of their legal status. Finally, let us not forget the historical arc we are traversing. This is not the first time America has wrestled with the tension between federal power and local will. From civil rights to education policy, the nation has repeatedly returned to the question, who decides what justice looks like? Sanctuary cities are the latest chapter in that story, a clash not just of laws, but of visions for what kind of country we wish to be. Let us move forward with discipline in thought and depth in understanding. The pursuit of a just society demands nothing less. Thank you.